Have you ever heard of the term "nigga wake up call"?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever
Well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney. Because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, no, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation. Yeah, I'm just saying, but you are black. And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say, think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl, Tom Jones, and Patrick Irvin. We are talking about that good old Negro wake-up call. We're going to dig deep into this Negro wake-up call, what it is, even though it's just been explained a bit, but we're going to go a little further with that, what it is and why it's even needed. Why is the Negro wake-up call needed? And the Negro wake-up call has existed for a while. And it's reserved for special Negroes with special ideas about themselves who really think that they're special in the world. But they are reminded because of certain acts or certain things that happen that you, like Trick Daddy said, you still a nigga. Right? So y'all be getting all uppity and thinking because you got comfortable around these folk that these folk really like you. But guess what? You'll be finding out, just like Candace always did, that you is still a nigga. So we getting into that. So PC, man, you primed and ready, my brother. Let's talk about this Negro wake-up call. So let's talk about, well, first let's talk about the interaction in this clip, and then we're gonna come back to the actual Negro wake-up call. Because it was interesting with Charlemagne posing the question the way he did to Larry Elder. Larry Elder, not necessarily with the way he came off, not necessarily being familiar with the term, but then clicked on, oh yeah, Negro wake-up call, then bam, hit him with the information. So what's your overall thoughts on Charlemagne trying to avoid his Negro wake-up call?
Well, first of all, I'm not buying it. Larry Elder didn't know that.
Yeah,
Larry Elder is a seasoned, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say certain words, but he's a seasoned one of those.
he's educated enough in these politics to know.
Right. Well, and he knows what it's like to be on that other side. He's always been sort of like the antagonist to any pro-black issue or any issue with black people concerning social injustice or any particular case that might show up. At the major networks always go to Larry Elder as their boy.
Yeah. Him and Thomas Sowell. Well, yeah, him and Thomas Sowell are the ones that they go to.
Right. So they're the ones. They're on speed dial. They become the affiliates. They become sort of like the black person that you throw in front, so that they can catch all the strays. Yeah. And so Larry Elder was familiar with it. And it's funny because he baited Charlemagne into that. And
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, he baited, and for Charlemagne to have been doing this for so long, to allow himself to get baited into this situation where he had to know at some point that Joe Biden interview, that soundbite from Joe Biden, telling him that he's not a black man, putting his finger in his face. You know, he had to, at some point when you have these conversations, you have to realize that's going to be used against you. And so he should have been able to prepare himself, or at least have a better comeback right there, you know, then I wasn't upset. Listen, this whole notion of being unbothered, come on, miss me with all that. He was definitely bothered.
What does it mean? How does that help you?
Right. And so, because for that particular instance, Larry Elder was right, because even when it happened, when the initial interview with Joe Biden took place, everybody was like, wow, how are you going to let this man come into your house, your studio, put his finger in your face and disrespect you in that manner? And it speaks to the fact that, you know, Negroes can get bought and paid for. And they feel like, for some of them, and I've heard Charles Barkley refer to this a lot, that black people that start to have fame and black people that start to experience being rich, because these Negroes ain't wealthy, they're just rich. There's a big difference. Wealth changes society. Rich just allow you to live a little more comfortably in society. And these Negroes ain't changing nothing. But Charles Barkley would always refer to it as the fact that they sort of have that they've elevated, or they transcended race because of their wealth. It allows them to exist as an honorary white.
The OJ Simpson.
Well, yeah, I'm not black, I'm OJ. But that in itself, it speaks to something. I think we talked about this last week. I think Pat said it. If black people can watch this, if most of black people can watch this blackness off of them, and so that it would give them access to white privilege, man, listen, if you were selling it, you would become wealthy. I mean, that's
no, but some black people have access to the skin bleaching stuff, and they're actually using that to literally wash off their blackness as much as they can.
Oh yeah, it's very popular, especially in the Caribbean and back in Africa, and those, you know, they fancy it up, and they use different terms for it here, sort of, you know, to get the blotches out of your skin. Next thing you know, you're beige. But the concept of the Negro wake up call is the fact that is the prop. I'm not going to say the concept. The issue is they use the same. It's the same stuff every time. This is not a new thing where Negroes are constantly getting their wake up call. Negroes get to a place where they get put in their place by the white establishment. Then you have the next generation that does the exact same thing. I'm not so mad about the Negro wake up call. I'm like, why can't we learn from the Negro wake up call? Because the Negro wake up call is kind of akin to the Talented 10th proposition that W.E.B. Du Bois put in place, and then was later, you know, utilized to create a glass ceiling for black people in terms of progress in policing any sort of steps forward that black people could make in impetus, whatever. It speaks to the fact that this status that they seek, it means more to them than building a power structure of their own. And therefore, we as black people will always seem to struggle, because just like white supremacy, this seems to be a system as well, where we have the so-called elite Negroes who forsake the rest of the niggas that they come from. And so it's not so much as the Negro wake up call and addressing it. It's the fact that the fact that they don't even have to use a new weapon to smack Negroes back into place. And I mean, let's face it. Bill Cosby did his pound cake speech. He got his Negro wake up call. Yeah. So they took all his wealth. Oprah Winfrey kept getting Negro wake up calls every time she tried to go into a fancy store and buy jewelry or expensive clothes.
Yeah.
Right. And they would lock her out the store. All of these folks, but here's the biggest problem with the Negro wake up call. We keep letting them come back. Right? We keep finding a way to legitimize what they've done, and we let them back, which speaks to the lack of cultural, civic esteem that we have as a community. And with that, I'm gonna land.
Nah, see, you ain't landed nothing because you supposed to forgive. Like you supposed to have forgiveness in your heart because God said forgive. So why wouldn't we let them back in? Because they are our brothers and our sisters in the struggle against racism, and they just fell short. So who are you to forsake them and try to keep them out the community? Because God said we supposed to forgive. Why you ain't got no forgiveness in your heart, black man?
Oh, I got
Said,
forgiveness, but I don't forgive
said,
anybody. I got to worry about having a shiv, you know what I mean, to stick in my back, or anybody that would step on me to help elevate them and keep them elevated by consistently stepping on my throat. I don't have any forgiveness for that. I'm gonna slice your ankles, and you won't be
you
able to
want to
walk.
be logical. Oh, you'll see. You don't want to move with forgiveness. You want to move with logic.
Yeah, well, I think the best way to do is, when you. Never mind. Let me not say that because you need to get
You
my
want to you one of those thinking Negroes. You be
Joe, you
putting
gonna keep
what?
I've been trying to behave, man. I've been
Hey,
in rehab. I've been reformed.
I can get some stuff out. We come back to that. Pat, what's your overall takeaway from the clip, the exchange between Larry Elder and Charlamagne?
I thought it was interesting because on the one hand, I'm like, it's interesting. Charlamagne's been doing this for 20 years. He seemed more like he was trying to be Shannon Sharp than Charlamagne the God in that clip.
Now, don't bring me up. Do not bring me up in this thing with the Breakfast Club because I was not with the Breakfast Club. I was with Cat Williams, and we did over 35, 54 million. So do not bring me up with the Breakfast Club.
Now skip. Now skip.
Skip. My grandma in South Georgia told me that not be with Skip more than 7 years, and I was not with Skip more than 7 years.
I'm just saying, it seemed like he was just like he really was trying to just. It's interesting. In any case, I found it interesting that not only did Larry Elder find a way to kind of subvert the discussion, to steer it away from where Charlamagne was going with it, but also to put Charlamagne on the attack or on the defense. And that was the defense that Charlamagne chose to go with. Like the whole thing was interesting to me.
I wasn't mad.
Cause I'm like, bro, I'm not doubting Charlamagne's ability to interview and all of that. Like he's proven, he's certified, he know what he's doing. But in this instance, I'm like, because you could have stopped all of that by just doubling down and being like, yeah, but you didn't answer the. Can you answer my question? I answer yours. How about that? Like there was so many different ways he could have went about keeping it on track. But I guess it does speak to the fact that he probably is still sensitive about the Joe Biden shit.
He should be.
Well, in his mind and in the minds of several other people, Joe Biden was making a joke, and Joe Biden should, everybody should be able to make jokes.
That wasn't no damn joke.
The problem is at the end of the day when you and your people end up being the joke.
Yeah, well, yeah, but as long as you get a laugh, right?
Because I tell you to vote for me, and if you don't vote for me, you're not black. But when you do vote for me, I don't do nothing for you. Gotcha, bitch.
Ain't that part of a long line of white politicians making jokes when they, Hillary Clinton had the hot sauce in her bag? Is it working?
Need some hot sauce.
Is it working? We don't. Well, Hillary, I guess it didn't. Then we had Obama, who, Barry was a joke in a lot of regards. And then we had who we have, Clinton, right? Saxophone.
I smoke weed.
He's the first black president.
I get
first
head.
black president.
I'm a black man because I got all my negative characteristics.
So I'm looking at it and I'm like, Joe Biden was just continuing a long tradition of Democratic politicians making jokes aimed at black people. So that's just. But in any case, that's neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there. I just thought it was interesting. They started the conversation about Negro wake up calls, and both of them seemed to resist the very conversation that was brought up. Charlemagne got put on his ass, bro. You gotta take that L. Give yourself the donkey of the day for that.
Well, yeah.
And,
I mean, when you ask, well, he did ask, has he had? Because Larry Elder never answered the question. That's what you're saying. Larry Elder never answered the question of if he had a Negro wake up call, if he knew what a Negro wake up call was.
Yeah, no, because he went right into. Of course, I'm acutely aware that I'm black. Okay, that wasn't the question. I didn't ask if you knew you was black or not.
He asked you, did you know what a Negro wake up call was? And he was like, nah, but I bet your ass do because you had one.
And so I just think all of these conversations get to be so disingenuous. Like, because the other thing I'm like is, why the fuck was Charlemagne the God even interviewing Larry Elder? I know why. He thought he could get one up on him because Charlemagne, I think, overestimated his own intelligence and underestimated that of Larry Elder. Just because somebody has a different political opinion,
that man seasoned, man,
doesn't mean they stupid.
That man.
No, I think he was actually. Well, I think Larry Elder might have reached out to them because he was trying to promote a book. So you know how they do backdoor this, backdoor that, but yeah, he still shouldn't have had Larry Elder on that fucking show.
That's why I'm like, I get all that, but come on, it's Charlemagne and even Larry Elder. You take loans for that too. Why are you on? Ain't nobody that listens to Charlemagne the God gonna buy a Larry Elder book,
right? So because I saw the interview with Biden and Charlemagne live, and when he said that, I think I might have called y'all, or we might have been on the group text or whatever. I remember that day because we ended up talking, and I'm just sitting here like, no, this month didn't just say, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. I like you say, put that old little resting face. You don't vote for me, you ain't black. And it's like,